Welcome to another edition of the Dementia Care Partner Talk Show. Now, here's dementia care expert Teepa and your host, Greg Phelps.
Hello and welcome to the Dementia Care Partners podcast. My name is Greg Phelps. Joining me as usual is dementia care expert Teepa Snow. And Teepa, science is still a long way from finding a cure for dementia. However, there are some things that maybe we can do right now: diet and exercise, loneliness, isolation, sleep cycles. What are some of the things that you talk about when people say, can I prevent this? I don't know if it's totally preventable, but what can we do to live a better life?
Yeah. So I'll say what I always try to say, at least, is okay, so not prevention, but risk reduction. And how much are you willing to pay? Because honestly, most of the things we're talking about to reduce your risk means you have to give up something and take something on that may not be your current lifestyle. So, how much change or how much are you willing to pay forward in order to have a longer high quality life versus I want to do whatever I want to do when I want to do it because I'm going to count on the good gene pool that I had, or oh well, I'm going to get it anyway, so what the heck. I mean, depending on how much you're willing to pay forward, will tell me a little bit of how much you may want to invest in this. Because the tricky part, this is, Greg, this is not a quick turnaround. It's really sad, but you're going to have to invest long term in this. So if you're going to do something, I want you to pick something that you think, not only can I do it, I can build up to it, and then I can sustain it. Because if you're not going to sustain it, there are very limited options I'm going to give you, quite honestly. Because if you can't keep it up, don't pick it up. But start by picking up little things and see how you do with it. So, one of the things that we know that matters is exercise. But exercise, we don't need you to go over the top and then quit. It's how can you build enough physical activity into your day that you do get aerobic and you maintain that sort of like, I'm a little short of breath. I'm not excessively short of breath, a little short of breath for at least 20, maybe 30, 40 minutes a day. You could build up to it. But I need to keep doing that day after day after day. It's not, there's been one or two studies of weekend warriors being successful, but very few. So, what kind of exercise do you like to do? What are things you like to do, Greg? Let's check it out. So, what do you like to do?
My
That you
basic
still can do, that you still can do. Let's add
my
that in.
basic is walking and working out with lighter weights. I'm not trying to become Charles at Last anymore. I'm just,
Oh
you
my
know,
heavens, Charles Atlas. I haven't seen that picture in a long time.
so
Greasy
learning
muscles.
to trying to age gracefully, but still pushing the some of the limits.
Yeah. So whatever you physically can do, wanting to know what that is, and at least do 70% of that for a period of time that challenges you, but doesn't totally wear you out, so that you can do it the next day and the next day. And you have a rhythm to your weeks. Because it turns out having a schedule, sort of like a standard schedule, is super helpful for brains. Not a rigid schedule, but actually a pretty standard schedule. So I know what I should be doing, when I should be doing it, and I do it. It turns out that matters. Human beings that are too, you're like, oh yeah, I'll exercise when I get to it. You know, it turns out that's not particularly good for your brain. Your brain likes a rhythm and a routine. It does better with it. Now, another exercise people don't do is breathing. I mean, we think we do it, but we don't actually. When we get stressed, we pause and we don't exchange oxygen very well. And that includes breathing at night. So for some people who have challenges breathing well at night, it may mean some device to help you get enough oxygen in. It may be an alert system that tells your brain, "Ooh, you're dropping. We better get you." I mean, maybe change the environment. But sleep matters, but oxygen matters. So, it's this balancing act. We do know that sleep is really good for your brain, but not too much. It's just a balance. But the question I'd start with is, how many hours do you typically sleep a night? Greg, what would you say? How many hours do you typically get in it?
7.
Okay, 7, 8, really healthy number. So stay keeping that, sustaining that. how many nights a month would you say you don't get 7?
Maybe 4 or 5.
Okay. So on those nights, is there something particularly that keeps you from sleeping well, or just sort of some nights are harder than others?
My addiction to coffee, probably, Teepa.
Ah, okay. So that caffeine addiction that you have going on, maybe you did a little later into the day, maybe you had that last cup sort of late on. And
Right
you
before
you
bed.
with your medical issue of, that caffeine, what the heck? Still addicted, are you? So, but a little bit of caffeine, that diet, that drinking, um, sounds like you're not really committed to switching it over to water, eh?
Well, I could switch to decaf.
Oh, oh. If you could, how much you willing to pay to sustain longer? So it's always that question. So when people ask this stuff, it's like, yeah, I can give you some stuff. Why aren't you doing them now? I mean, it's not rocket science, but I would say being social. Like, do you enjoy being with me? Is it super stressful?
Being with you? Oh, it's
Yeah.
a
Oh, good. Okay, well, then we should keep that up. We should do it regularly. And we do. So, what I would say is you need social engagement that matches your preferences. Making yourself do stuff that you find super stressful, that's not good for your brain. Finding ways to be resilient, like if it's slightly annoying to be with me, keep it short. Well, you know, you out there may be thinking, maybe I'll turn her off now. I, I don't know.
but
But the idea of having social opportunities and keeping them going. That's why I said a schedule. And at first we may actually need to build it in. And then what I just did is called humor. And it turns out laughter and humor and finding joy and pleasure in being alive, finding the thing that lights you up, that actually fuels you, whether it's, oh, here's another one, being outdoors. Being in the out of doors actually has this really phenomenal experience on human beings. And we are well or more well when we're out. If we have a place to go that's a good place, not if it's a scary, awful place. So it has to be reasonable. Um, and then additionally, animals, having animals that you love and enjoy, or even bird song and listening and seeing birds can be a real uptick for people. Some people it's fish, some people it's other things, but finding that which you love to see and seeing it regularly makes a difference.
for
And then
for
we could
me,
get to the eating, but I'm not sure people don't know what to eat. They just don't like staying in that lane because there's, especially around the holidays. Oh boy, it's tough. And how much? And for many of us, it's portion size, and so mine is cup your hand and then run your hand across the top of the cup. That's a portion size for you, the human being that you are. In America, I don't know about Canada, we think you put your two hands together, you heap as much in there as you can. That's a portion. That's
I
overeating.
think we're probably pretty close behind you on that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And the tricky part, Greg, there was just a new piece out that over 80% of adults by 2050 will be considered obese in North America.
Ouch.
80%.
And your healthcare system is struggling now.
Yeah. And we know that obesity and risk of brain changes is high because it impacts your heart, your breathing, your respiratory, your exercise, everything. So, I mean, those are a few of my go-tos, but my real question is how much are you willing to pay forward for yourself to be well longer without feeling like you're cheating on today? Because it has to feel good because you won't keep it up. We know that.
Do you ever have chat groups on subjects like this that people can join? Because there are some questions that could be raised. We don't have time in a 10-minute segment to
Yeah.
visit all, but can I hop on the line somewhere and listen?
Yeah,
Or
we actually have a problem solving, ask Teep anything. And we also have 3 times a week, we are having questions that will be coming in from you about whatever subject you want to ask about and we're going to be putting it on Facebook and on Instagram. So that'll be available to folks. If you want to ask something, I'll chat about it and we'll see what happens. And we'll decide then maybe to pull a group together and have a conversation.
Eva, thank you very much.
Thank you, Greg.
You've been listening to the Dementia Care Partners podcast. For more information, go to teepasnow.com.